Hello, welcome to another Naruto CCG Deck Profile video. Today I'm going to be profiling an Anbu deck. Like most of my other decks, this takes a pretty established strategy and adds its own little flair that I've come up with myself. So there are going to be a few little changes that you might have never seen before. As always, I do follow the Untap and Great Ninja Tournaments rogue lists, so I will be going over any of the limited and semi-limited cards that appear on each of those and tell you any of the discrepancies that might come up for each of them. And lastly, as always, I will have the full deck list in the description down below. You can download it and upload it to the Untap website, make any modifications that you want, add any of the changes, make any count differences that you feel you have a preference for. Whatever you want to do, you can upload it and use it for your leisure. So without further ado, let us get into the strategy of this deck. So the point of this deck is very simple and revolves around this Jutsu Dispatch of Anbu. It's a generic 3 chakra jutsu with requirements of Anbu, and the effect is place any number of your Anbu ninja cards in the user's team in any position from your chakra area and or discard pile, even if you already have one or more ninjas with the same name in play. So this card is limited to 1. We only can run 1 of them in the deck. And the entire point of the deck is to use this jutsu to move every Anbu that we have in our deck from our chakra or discard pile into our field. So very, very simple concept, not a lot of movement on that subject. So how are we going to do that? Well, we're primarily going to be using the mission just like that hero. Sorry, I have the black and gold, so it's going to be kind of hard to read. But it is a Wind and Lightning mission, turn 4 with 1 hand cost. And the effect is discard your deck. In that case, if you discarded 1 or more cards due to this effect, move 5 cards from your discard pile to the top of your deck in any order. So obviously, as you can tell from this mission, when this mission resolves, your entire deck is going to be in your discard pile. And then you are going to essentially have a deck of 5 cards made up entirely of cards that you are choosing. So on turn 4, the main goal is to use this mission, dump every card in your deck into your discard, and then hopefully on that turn, use your Dispatch of Anbu to bring every ninja that you just discarded back onto your field. At this point, you've pretty much won the game. You've put probably 20 ninjas onto the field in one turn, which is kind of why this jutsu is limited to 1. But the kind of magic of this is that it being limited to 1 doesn't mean that you have to search through your whole deck to find it like you normally would. There are a lot of ways to search out jutsus. So a jutsu limited to 1 pretty much means you're going to have to draw into it or kind of put a lot of effort into finding it. But just like that hero allows you to put any cards, even ones that have already been discarded or put into your chakra area, well, I guess just discarded in that case, back onto the top of your deck. So if Dispatch of Anbu was the very bottom card of your deck while you were drawing, it's discarded. You can put it on the top of your deck and you can draw it on your very next turn. So it's actually pretty easy to find Dispatch of Anbu. The entire point is to use just like that hero as soon as possible. So pretty much every card in this deck is an Anbu ninja, and we will see that as we continue on. But the strategy is extremely simple, and I feel like it's pretty easy to pull off in all honesty. So starting off with turn 0 ninjas, I run 3 Kiba Inuzuka Keen Nose. I've shown this a lot in a lot of decks because it's one of the best ways to find missions early and fast. Its effect is when this ninja is deployed, you can reveal the top 5 cards of your deck. In that case, select 1 mission card among them and move it to your hand, then return the rest and shuffle your deck. So unfortunately, it is when it's deployed only, because it does have growth. It can growth on top of itself, but growth is not a deploy. It's a put in play effect. So you can't growth over 1 to get the effect a second time, unfortunately. But you can use that if you just need a higher number, the +1 growth coin. Otherwise, its stats are pretty mediocre for turn 1, 2, and 1 when injured. Not the best. Ninjas on turn 0 can be up to 4 typically. But I do want to run 3 of these because even though it is not an Anbu card, it is on element with the fire, and it does let you search out your, just like that, heroes in the top of your deck if possible. Next, I run 3 Sasuke Peerless Genius, another turn 0. It has a 3 combat value and 0 when injured. And its effect is your opponent's non-taijutsu ninjas with an entrance cost of 2 or less cannot be sent out to attack during the turn they are put in play. So this Sasuke is one of the better ways that Fire and really any deck can stall, because the number of taijutsu ninjas are very few and far between. You're pretty much not going to see a taijutsu ninja unless it's like a Rock Lee, and a lot of times you know what decks those are going to be in. They're not really, scattered taijutsu attributes just around. So this is a very good way to stall because then your opponent can't even put that in a team with other non-taijutsu ninjas because that ninja is not allowed to battle, so its entire team would not be allowed to battle. So, like I said, very good way to stall in the early game. It is a fire element also, obviously not Anbu, but it does have Sharingan Eye, which is a pretty useful feature later on, and it is a Sasuke ninja for our reinforcements later. So you do want to run 3, or at least I do, because you want to stall early on to get to your turn 4 mission. And to help facilitate that, the next I run is Kisuke Maboroshi, a lightning and fire Anbu ninja, which is important, but also probably the best stalling card in the game. So combined with the Sasuke, you're going to be able to stall pretty well. Its effect is valid when this ninja is discarded due to the showdown. If it does not have a ghost coin on it, move this ninja card to your village with a ghost coin on it. The ghost coin by itself does not do anything. The entire point of the ghost coin is to facilitate the effect in its own effect. So don't worry about any sort of inherent value that coin provides. And the second effect is when this ninja would be discarded due to the showdown. If it has a ghost coin on it, remove it from the game instead. So essentially, this card is on your field twice. If it's sent out to battle and it dies due to the showdown, it is put back in play, and then it has to die again before it's fully removed from play. So one of the better ways to stall, because it's a free ninja, it lets you block for free probably twice, being injured and then killed. And obviously being Anbu, it's very on brand, so it can use our Anbu jutsu later on. It counts as Anbu being put back into play with that jutsu. And kind of synergizes pretty well with another ninja later on. Stat-wise, it's pretty good, 3-0 and 0-0. Not the best, but it's definitely, top of the bell curve. A lot of turn 0 ninjas are going to be probably around the 3 mark. So it's probably going to be tying unless your opponent has something, at the very height of turn 0 power. The lightning element is also very important because this is a mostly fire deck, so having a lightning element to pay for, just like that hero, which is wind and lightning, neither of which are fire, gives you a little more breathing room for hand costs. And lastly, I run 2 Mist Anbu. It is a water ninja, the only non-fire, lightning, or wind that I use in this deck, but it is an Anbu card, and it is a 3-0 on turn 0, so it's pretty good. It does have non-unique, so if you have 2 of them in your hand and you need to use a drop for one of them, then it can do that. But also importantly, it has its own put-in-play effect where during your mission phase, the attacker's mission phase, you can move 3 cards from your opponent's discard pile to their chakra area and then put him into play from your hand. So if your opponent has a lot of chakra, like they're playing no hand, water or something, it might not be best to give them that give them back chakra from their discard, but you can do that to put them in play for free. And if they have 6, you can do it twice with each one. So mostly here just to round out the Anbu really early on with the turn 0s, but it also is helpful in having a free body that you can put in play sometimes, and obviously can come back with the jutsu. On to turn 1s, I run 2 Tatsuji. He is a Anbu on turn 1, one of the only turn 1 Anbus. There are a lot of illegal Anbu cards because Anbu as an archetype was kind of very swarm dependent, and it got really out of control really fast. Oh, that's interesting. I actually never saw that he had Leaf and Rain because he's a spy. That's pretty funny. But his effect is valid. Before any cards are moved to either player's battle rewards area, they are revealed first. Not the best effect, but I did want to lean more into the end game of swarming the field with Anbu at the very end. So even though it's not super worth it, it is pretty good. Seeing what has been put into your battle rewards area is pretty valuable. If you see that a just like that hero has been moved to your battle rewards area. You might not use another one for hand cost or something. You might not be relying on knowing that certain ninjas are in your deck. So it's pretty valuable, and you can even see what opponents' battle rewards have been moved there too, so you can see maybe a little more information about what their deck is. But otherwise, it is an Anbu card, so that's helpful. And 2 support is pretty good. Fire is notoriously not very good at supporting itself in stats, so it's pretty okay. One of the only turn ones we run. So I do just run it at 2, and that's pretty much its only value. On to turn 2s, I run 2 Anbu. Just named Anbu. There are a lot that are just named Anbu, but most of them are banned, so pretty conveniently, this is one of the ones that's left. It is a turn 2, so that is the only turn 1 that I run, unfortunately. But this one is pretty good in that while this card is in your hand, if you have 1 or more injured ninjas, the deployment of this ninja does not count towards the 1 ninja per turn restriction. So once again, a swarm archetype lets it come onto the field very easily. Second effect is valid. This ninja card can be put in play or moved into a village or battlefield, even if that player already has 1 or more ninjas with the same name in play. It's a proto version of non-unique. So essentially the only thing that this card does is allow itself to be put in play or literally deployed if you have an injured ninja on the field, which is pretty good. Doesn't let you bypass turn entrance cost because it is a deploy, even though it ignores the 1 per turn. But you can still use it to do a multiple deploy on turn 2. For example, if you have both of these Anbu in your hand and you have an injured ninja, because it's non-unique, you can put both of them into play using 2 deploys and still have your 1 deploy left over. So 3-2 is pretty okay as stats. It makes up for its lack of high numbers with its versatility. It can be in the back for a 2 or in the front for a 3 if you need it. It is Anbu, and it has a little bit of mental power with the 1, but otherwise doesn't have very much. The saving grace comes in the fact that it is a wind ninja, so it's usable as hand cost for just like that hero, which is one of the main reasons I want at least 2 of them, but I could see the argument for 3. Next, I run 1 Shino Aburame Calculated Decision. This is a revitalized card, which is one of the newer mechanics in the game, where if it is ever being moved into the discard pile, you can put it on the bottom of your deck instead. Not only is that helpful for keeping it in your deck for use later on, and like if it's killed, you can get it back into your deck and draw it later. But also in the very end game, when you are using just like that hero, when it is discarded from the deck, it is immediately put down on the bottom of the deck afterwards, and the 5 that you're selecting are put on top of it. So that is a pretty good way to make sure that you're not at risk as much of milling yourself. It gives you 20% more cards after that. But its effect is when this ninja is put in play, you can look at a player's hand. In that case, if you choose, you can choose a card from that player's hand and move it to the bottom of their deck and have that player draw 1 card. So this is very good, usable on yourself if you have kind of something in your hand you don't need and really need the draw. Also very usable on your opponent because you can search their hand and dump like a jutsu you don't want to go against, the drop that they're going to put in play for the next turn. Something that they really, really need, and it would be very bad for them to have. Kind of like a Tamari Wind Scythe, but a little bit later, and not just for jutsus. So I do just run 1 of these because I didn't have enough room for more, and obviously it's not an Anbu, so it doesn't exactly fit on theme, but this is just a very good card, and synergizes with a reinforcement later, and is on element for the just like that hero. Lastly, I run 1 Konohamaru Ninja Squad. This card is limited to 1 on both of the lists, and its effect is, when this ninja is put in play, reveal the top card of your deck, then move that card to your hand. Note that this is not a draw effect, so if your opponent has any effects that proc off of you drawing, like dehydration, this does not count towards that. And its second effect is valid. Other leaf ninjas in this ninja's team cannot be affected by the effects of your opponent's ninjas. Most of the cards in this deck are leaf, outside of, there's the one Mist Anbu, there's turn 4, and a turn 6 that are all not leaf, but I'm pretty sure outside of that, everything is a leaf ninja. So this is blanket protection for all of your ninjas in that team, for if you need their effect to be valid and not negated or something. This is the way you can do that. Otherwise, it's just a very good card. 3 support is extremely good. 2 on the attack side is pretty okay. It has growth, but not going to come into play with this, and it's not an Anbu, obviously. So that is the end of the turn 2s. For turn 3, I only run 1 card, Yugao Uzuki. Her effect is, while this ninja card is in your hand, when your special Jonin and or Anbu ninja is discarded due to the showdown, you can put this ninja card into play. So anytime your Anbu ninja is going to be, killed, this is going to be a put in play effect, which is very good for swarming. And the second effect is, while you have 1 or more special Jonin and or Anbu ninja cards in your discard pile, she gets +2/+0. Making her pretty average 4/2 for a turn 3 into a very good 6/2 for a turn 3. So you just want to keep in mind that she is going to be very essential in your kind of mid-game, because it does ignore your entrance cost being a put-in-play effect. She's also synergizing very well, and thank you to Gabuman for using this 10 years ago. Oh, not Kiba. She synergizes very well with Kisuke, because even while he does not have the ghost coin and he's going to be put in play again, he does actually get discarded and then his effect goes off. So turn 0, if you have Yugao in your hand and Kisuke is killed on the field by the showdown, which would be very difficult, but just, for example, he's killed, put in the discard pile, Yugao's effect activates and allows you to put her into play, and then he's brought back onto the field with his ghost coin. So it does allow you to do that even though he is not staying in the discard pile, which is why I run 3 of them, because you do want to see her as early as possible just to, get a high entrance cost body on the field with a pretty high attack for that turn, as just an extra deploy, essentially. So I do run 3 of her. She is the only turn 3 that I run. On to turn 4s, I run 2 Anbu Captain. It does have Ambush, which is very important. It's one of the only ambush cards in this deck and allows you to use him freely for hand cost if you need it. Its effect is valid. Your other Anbu ninjas get +0/+1 and +1 mental power. That's very good later on, as if you have 20 Anbu on the field, they're all going to get +1 support. Each team is going to be 2 stronger, and each team is going to have at least 3 more mental power. And its second effect is, your opponent can't play mission cards with an entrance cost less than the number of your in-play Anbu ninjas. This is pretty much a death sentence if you can pull off the full combo, because you'll have 20 Anbu ninjas on the field, and your opponent essentially can never play a mission ever again. Turn 4 is not so late into the game that missions are pretty much irrelevant. So this is going to mean that you're going to have a huge curve ahead of you compared to what your opponent can do. It's also 5/2, which is very good for stats. Obviously, it's Anbu. The last 10 ninjas have been. So very good ninja, and I do just run 2 of them because it is a little bit later on the turn 4 side, and a lot of the times you don't want to actually see it, but it is usable if you run into turn 4 and actually need the deploy for it. Next, still on turn 4s, I run 2 Kakashi Hatake Anbu Days. One of the only Anbu Days that is still not banned. Also has Ambush, which is very good because it does also have the lightning symbol, so it is usable for just like that hero. And its effect is, during your exchange of Jutsu, you can deploy, not put in play, this ninja card from your hand. And if you have 2 or more Anbu ninjas, you can move this ninja into any of your teams in any position. And it does count as your deployment for the turn, obviously. So very good effect. It does not allow you to bypass the entrance cost like most of them, but being able to be put into a team basically on, like if you missed your drop for that turn, or if you've only used put in play effects for that turn, is a very helpful effect. And it allows you to bypass the 3 ninjas per team restriction because it's putting itself into play during the exchange of Jutsu, so you've already done your organization phase and already organized into your teams. So it allows you to have a team of 4 all the way through till your next turn because you do not organize on your opponent's turn, so that's very helpful. Also has 5 combat, which is very good for a turn 4. Has Sharingan Eye, Anbu, name Kakashi. So it hits all the check marks of what we're looking for. It's usually using, it's the user of a jutsu that we have later on, and can use any of the Anbu. It's put in play with the jutsu also. So I do run 2 of those just to kind of facilitate that. Any more than that would be a little clunky because it's not, the best. And last for turn 4 is I run 1 Hidan. This is the Immortal Soul. It's a staple in pretty much any deck, really, but definitely in fire decks, and especially fire decks that are going to be milling themselves. Because its effect is valid. When this ninja would be removed from the game, move it to your discard pile instead. So basically, sacrifice, remove from the game. None of it can really affect it. He's going to the discard pile pretty much no matter what. I can't really think of any effect or situation where he's not being put in the discard. And the second effect is during your mission phase, you can give your opponent 1 battle reward. And then if your turn marker is equal to or greater than this ninja card's entrance cost, you can put him into play from your discard pile. So incredibly good because it allows you to get a free body on the field for just 1 battle reward, which allows you to reinforce into the reinforcement Hidan, allows you to chump block, allows you to swing for more BRs with his 5 power. His uses are pretty much limitless, especially in this deck because obviously you're going to be discarding your entire deck at one point about on turn 4 when he's usable. And then once your deck is discarded, you can immediately use him to put himself into play along with all the Anbu you just summoned. So it's just another free way to do that without having to actually be part of the deck or in your hand at any point. So I do just run 1. You really never need more than 1 unless you want the Hidan to come out, but he's pretty much only ever in the deck to be in the discard, used for chakra and then paid or something to put himself into play later. On to turn 5s, I run 2 Itachi Uchiha Vengeance. It's not an Anbu days or anything, so you can't run it with any other, plain Itachis. But its effect is your other Anbu ninjas get +1/+1. Stacking with the Anbu captain, each of your ninjas is going to get +1/+2, which is very, very strong. And if they're all put in play with, non-unique, then you're going to be able to double up, and it's going to be incredibly powerful. But the second effect is also very good, where it's also valid at the start of your turn. If you have 5 or more Anbu ninjas, you win 1 battle reward. So you're probably going to have 5 Anbu ninjas, even if your opponent kills, 3 of them every turn for 4 turns in a row. So the chances of you not getting this effect off to win the game after a couple turns is very low. This also synergizes very well with the next ninja that we have and with our reinforcement Hidan to just kind of stack up on battle rewards as sort of a secondary win condition, because if you're focused on the fact that your opponent just put in play 20 Anbu ninjas, you're not going to really be able to focus much on your opponent winning a battle reward at the start of their turn every turn. So if something happens where you can't win just off of sheer numbers, this is another good secondary. 6/3 are very good stats. It can be a back ninja if it needs to, or a front like it wants to. Unfortunately, no ambush, but it does have Anbu and fire element, obviously. So I do run just 2 of them. And the last ninja in the game, or in the deck, is a turn 6, Hanzo the Salamander. It does have ambush. It is a water and fire, so you can use the hand cost of Mist Anbu and the... Somebody else had water, but I forget. But Mist Anbu was the only one with soul water, because he does have 1 hand cost. His effect is, during your mission phase, you can remove 7 cards in your discard pile from the game. In that case, you win 1 battle reward. And also this ninja can be deployed from your discard pile. So very much like Hidan, he's in the deck because he's going to be discarded by your main strategy. And when he's discarded, he can be deployed from the discard pile a couple turns later, and then use his effect to remove 7 of the cards you just discarded, which will be probably 20, 25 maybe, to win a battle reward. So you can essentially use this to win 1 in a turn, use the Itachi to win 1 at the start of a turn, that's 2, and then use the Hidan reinforcement to win another 1, which is 3 in the turn without ever having to attack. So just another boost to the alternate win strategy of this deck. So you just need the 1. He's not really meant to be seen ever, except after he's been discarded and, you deploy him from your discard. So just the one is fine. On to Jutsus. I run one Tsuchigumo style Forbidden Jutsu release Big Bang. This is limited to one on both of the lists, and it is a lightning and a wind jutsu with a wind and lightning cost as either one of those. If you've seen any of my other decks that have wind or lightning, I recommend using this in pretty much all of them. It's one of the best jutsus in the entire game. Its effect is charge one card, in that case draw two cards. So you are going neutral in your hand, which means you are drawing the same amount as you're losing by playing this, because you have to play this, which is -1, and then charge one, which is -2, and then draw the 2 for neutral 0. So essentially you're seeing 2 more cards by getting rid of 2 that you don't really need, and you're also gaining 1 more chakra. So that's very helpful. But it's also beneficial because it has the elements that we're looking for just like that hero. So really any excuse to put this in is a good one. And it allows you to use some of the chakra that you might have dumped on that element, just as a little bonus. So I do run one of those. Next is an interesting card. I run 2 Amaterasu. It's a Void and Fire Jutsu with a Fire and 1 colorless cost, or just 3 colorless if you somehow only have like 2 Mist Anbu and like just regular Anbu, I guess. I don't know. But the requirements are Sharingan Eye. So the Kakashi, the Itachi, and even the Sasuke on turn 0 can use this, which is very good. The target is 1 ninja, so any ninja in the entire field. It doesn't have to be in the battle, doesn't have to be opposing, any ninja anywhere. And the effect is injure the target. Then attach this card to the target. The attached ninja gets the following effect. Valid at the start of your turn, move the top 2 cards of your deck to your discard pile. So why is this in here? It doesn't sound like it facilitates anything, doesn't sound like it really helps us very much. The main reason of including this is it is the cheapest and most easily accessible sniping injury that a fire deck has to offer. There are other cards that can snipe, so that one of which I actually run in this deck. But one of the main deterrents of this deck is ninjas that do not allow you to put in play, or don't allow you to put in play more than once per turn. So for example, Ino Playful, Shimon, they have effects that say, in the case of Ino, neither player can put in play more than 1 ninja in a turn, no matter how you're doing it. And Shimon says verbatim, you can't put in play at all, you can only deploy. Those cards are very, very bad for this deck, but rather than trying to find an out in the form of like a mission to negate their effect for a short amount of time, something that could be removed by a Hina, I've opted to go for a Jutsu, where for 2 chakra, you can injure them to turn off their effects because neither of them are valid. And then you're even getting a bonus by sort of milling them 2 cards every turn, which means that they're going to need to get rid of that. A little bonus to that is that Ino, specifically that has growth, cannot get rid of this, because if she growths, she's still going to be injured, and Amaterasu is still going to transfer onto the growth ninja because they keep all of the cards that are attached to them. So this is a very, very good way to ensure that, at least on the side of ninjas, you don't have any problems putting in play from your effects, which means that your Dispatch of Anbu is still free and clear. So I do run 2 of these. It's usable by 7 cards in the deck, so not the most, but it's also very easily going to be accessible. And I think this is one of the best techs that you can have for those cards specifically. Next, I run 2 Shikamaru's Judgement. It feels very bad because it's not on element for any of the cards, but it is usable because it has a 3 generic cost. This is very, very specific in its use. The requirements are Leaf plus Chunin or higher rank, which might be every card in the deck that has Leaf, because they're all Anbu, which is higher than Chunin, or they are Chunin. Kiba might be Genin. Hang on. Kiba is Genin. Yeah. Okay. So every Leaf card in the deck, except for Kiba, because Shino is a Chunin, can use this jutsu, which means it's very generic. And the effect is select one of the following and apply it. 1, negate one jutsu card being used and move it to the top of its owner's deck. So once you've already got a negate on here, so the easiest way to get rid of Dispatch of Anbu is to negate it with their own jutsu. This is a way you can try to get around that. Or 2, remove one in-play mission card from the game, and if the user is Shikamaru Nara, this jutsu cannot be affected by your opponent's effects. We don't run a Shikamaru, so that latter point is pretty irrelevant. But removing an in-play mission from the game is also very useful because just like with the Ino and Shimon, there are cards that just prevent you outright from being able to put in play effects. Crying in Vain, the one where they're in the hot tub, I forget its name offhand, but not having room to run negates and run mission removal in the form of like Hina, I've opted to do Shikamaru's Judgment because it allows you to kind of handle both if you really need it. There's never really a situation where you're going to need to negate a jutsu and you're going to need to remove a mission and, XYZ. If you're in that position, you're pretty screwed. Your opponent top decked the hell out of you and just go to game 2. So this is kind of just a catch-all for hopefully any bad situation that might come up. Next, I run 3 Interrogation. Fire Jutsu with 3 chakra, colorless chakra. Requirements are Anbu or Satusa. So even Hanzo can use this jutsu, which is pretty funny. But otherwise, pretty much it's all the Anbu. And the target is every ninja battling against the user with 0 or less mental power. Move the target to the top of its owner's deck. So just kind of a very good, almost like a Fear by Genjutsu. Because it can, remove the entire team away and let you swing through. Because even though a lot of ninjas do have mental power, a lot of ninjas also don't have mental power. And you're pretty much going to know which ones do. If they're kind of just generic people, they're probably not going to have mental power. All the Narutos, all the Sasukes, no mental power. A lot of weird cards that should have mental power don't. Like there are a lot of fourths that don't have mental power, a lot of Itachis that don't have mental power. But this is basically just a 3 chakra, usable by any of your ninjas. Fear by Genjutsu, just push people away, get rid of them. And if they are blocking at the time, then you're going to win them as battle rewards. So that's pretty cool. So I do run 3 of these because you do want to see it. It's not the greatest jutsu in the world like the other Interrogation for mental power, but it is still very, very good. Next, I run 1 Dispatch of Anbu. This is the main card in the deck, limited to 1 like I mentioned. I'm not going to read it again, but this is the card. It's usable by Anbu specifically, so you've seen how many I have. Pretty much every card in the deck can use this, and it's the main card. It's what you're looking for the entire game. Lastly, I run 1 Kamui. It is a 3 fire jutsu, and requirements are Kakashi or Itachi, of which we have 2 of each. Target is 1 ninja, so just like Amaterasu, anywhere on the field. And the effect is place the target in your battle reward area face down. So this is another snipe that we have. This time it is a kill jutsu, and it costs significantly more, not only being 1 more chakra total, but also no colorless. So you can't use your, Shikamaru's Judgment that you had in your chakra for the whole time and nothing to use it on. So it is a little bit expensive, and obviously it's only usable by Kakashi and Itachi. So unlike Amaterasu, Sasuke can't use this if that's your only option. You've got to turn 0 on the field that's never died, and you really need to turn off Ino or something. So you can see why I don't want to solely rely on this. But in the late game, like if you can put this back on your deck with just like that hero and draw into it like a turn later, this is a very, very good card for you because it's not only going to win you a battle reward, essentially, it's going to kill a ninja. It might remove a team that's blocking. It's incredibly good. So I do just run 1 of them. I could understand you running 2. It just felt a little bit too clunky. It's not really usable until you've already pulled off your strategy, so it's kind of a win more card at that point. On to missions, turn 1 missions. I run 2 just like Drifting Clouds. A very, very hard staple for any fire deck. It is a turn 1 with 1 hand cost. It is permanent for 2 turns. You're going to be removing the coin on the start of your turn. The effect is during your mission phase, you can exchange all the cards in your hand with the same amount of cards from the top of your deck. In that case, shuffle your deck and draw 1 card. So not only does this allow you to see probably 4, 5, 6 more cards that you are not seeing. It also allows you to draw a card after the exchange. So you could have a small chance of getting something in your hand that you wanted back. Draw-wise, this is 2 cards if you choose to use it both turns. So on a turn 1 mission, you get to draw 2 cards, which is incredible. But obviously, the main draw is in how many cards you really get to see. In a deck where you're trying to see one specific mission and probably also one specific jutsu without having to rely on using that mission to get it back, this is going to be incredible. I do only run 2 because every time I've run 3, it feels really bad. It always runs into the situation where you use 1, you keep exchanging until you get this hand you want, and now you have another one and you just never want to use it again because you have what you're looking for and you can't exchange it. There's no way you're going to get it back at that point. So running 3 always feels bad to me, so I just run 2. But a lot of people do run this at 3 just because it is so important to see it a lot of the time. On to turn 2s, I run 2 Heated Argument, which is a mission that I've kind of come around on a little bit since I got them in a lot on eBay. But it's a permanent fire mission, and the target is 1 ninja. Attach the mission to the target. The target gets +1/+1 for each other ninja you control. When this mission is removed from play, draw 2 cards. So interestingly, you can put this on your opponent's ninja if they have some really weak, crappy guy that they're just going to swing on or chump block with. So you can boost it a little bit if you can still kill it and then get the draw as soon as they chump block with it, or kind of incentivize them not to chump block with it is an interesting play. But you can also, if you don't want the draw immediately, you can use it on one of your ninjas, boost up your ninjas by the number of ninjas that you have, which in a swarm deck is going to be quite a bit. And then it happens that they die and you get your draw 2. So unfortunately, fire is not very heavy on draw missions on turn 2. So you could run something like loss in this place. It's just that without the guaranteed hand cost of being on the main element, it's kind of risky. So I kind of chose to do this to offset that risk for a guaranteed ability to use the hand cost, even though I might not get the draw immediately, which is fine because I am trying to stall and my deck isn't trying to turn on until turn 4. So, if this deck was trying to get rolling on turn 2 or turn 3, I might reconsider. But for my purposes, I think 2 of these is just fine. Next, I run 2 Guardians of the Village. I like that it's on theme, but it's a turn 3 mission, fire with permanents. And its effect is your maximum hand size is 3 and cannot be reduced further. And the effect is when you put in play a ninja, draw a card. So kind of a trade-off. Obviously, cutting your hand in half is extremely bad. There are a lot of situations where you are going to struggle to figure out what you want to keep. But putting in play a ninja, draw a card is incredible. And there's kind of a synergistic strategy to this where not only can you get a lot of early draws by effects that are ignoring, deployment, like Yugao allowing herself to be put in play would let you draw a card. Anbu, not counting towards the deployment, would allow you to draw a card, stuff like that. But also, for example, if you have, let's just say, Mist Anbu, and you've brought that to your hand, and you have Guardians of the Village on the field. If you've used your Just Like That hero and discarded your entire deck, put 5 cards on the top of your deck, let's just say, for argument, Dispatch of Anbu. So, once again, turn 4, you've used Just Like That hero, you've discarded your entire deck, you have put Dispatch of Anbu as the top card on your deck. You cannot draw it, your turn is already going on. If you have Guardians of the Village on the field, you can use Mist Anbu's effect to put itself into play, to draw a card immediately with Guardians of the Village, draw into your Dispatch of Anbu, and then use your Guardians of the Village, use your Dispatch of Anbu to put in play the entire deck that you just discarded. So I really wanted a way to immediately draw, and obviously it doesn't have to be a put and play effect. It can be just your regular deploy you haven't used yet because you used just like that hero during your mission phase. I really wanted the ability to draw a card immediately, so that you can get access to anything that you've just put on the top of your deck without having to wait. Because if you use just like that hero on turn 4 and put Dispatch of Anbu on top, your opponent has a whole turn and you cannot let them win a battle reward, or the only copy of this is going to be gone forever. So it's very, very important to be able to get this into your hand. And if you have to discard your deck and put it on top with just like that hero, Guardians of the Village is probably the way you're going to be getting it. So I do just run 2 of them because, like I said, it is very costly. There are going to be a lot of situations where you are struggling to figure out what you want to keep, what you want to get rid of, because you do need to keep your just like that hero if you have it early on. If you've already drawn this, you're going to want to keep it. So you really have like 1 slot to deal with. So there's a lot of trade-off with this, but I think it is very important to be able to make sure that you can draw into any of the cards that you really cannot afford to lose in the like turn and a half that's going to go on between discarding your deck and drawing again. Still on turn 3s, I run 2 Succeeded Will of Fire. It is a fire and lightning mission, so very importantly, it has the lightning cost that we're looking for. And it does synergize very well with Guardians of the Village. Because its effect is if you control only Leaf Ninjas, which we pretty much only do, and you have 3 or less cards in your hand, which you probably will if you have this because your hand size is limited to 3, draw until you have 4 cards in your hand. So the best way to use this is if you have just a junk hand, you can charge pretty much everything except for this and 1 card. Use this to draw up to 4 off of your turn 3 mission, which is very good. And then obviously you can draw more with Guardians of the Village if you have it, blah, blah, blah. So I do just run 2. Just like Guardians of the Village, there are a lot of situations where you get this and your hand is just good and you cannot get rid of anything, sort of also like just like Drifting Clouds. So the missions in this deck are very costly. You're going to have to think like Blue's Clues about this a lot. So I do just run 2 because any more and you're just going to be in an impossible situation. Last turn 3, I run 1 New Orders. It is a counter mission, so you can use it on your opponent's mission phase. 1 hand cost, obviously. And the target is 1 mission. And the effect is negate and discard the target. If the target's entrance cost is 4 or more, draw 1 card. So just another surefire way of trying to get rid of the crying in veins or the heart-to-heart communications. That's what it is in the hot tub. So if they have those and you really need to get rid of them, or even if they play like a comp strength or something, you can try to counter and get rid of it to keep your effects going or to allow you to put and play your effects. And if they're playing a late game thing, you can draw a card, and that's pretty helpful. So I do just run 1. It's not super beneficial to run any more than that because I do have the Shikamaru's Judgments. But yeah, 1 of those is very helpful. And lastly, we've already talked about it, but 3, just like that, heroes. You need 3 because this is the key card of the deck outside of the Dispatch of Anbu. So seeing this as soon as possible, I mean up to a reasonable limit of turn 4, is necessary. And if you don't have this, your deck is pretty much screwed. I mean, it can work, but you're going to be fighting an uphill battle. So you want 3 of these for sure, and any way to find it is encouraged. So that is the main deck as we have it. So I'll just get straight into the reinforcement deck. I run 3 Shino and Kiba, and again, thank you, Gabu Man, for running this a decade ago. Its effect is, during your mission phase, you can discard a ninja card from your hand. In that case, draw 2 cards and move 1 card from your hand to the bottom of your deck. So very good synergy. Not only does it give you more draw power for finding your just like that hero, but it lets you dump any ninjas that you have into your discard pile, which is just going to be fueling your Dispatch of Anbu later. And obviously lets you draw 2 cards, not just 1, but 2 whole cards, which is very, very strong to look for anything that you're looking for, basically. Not only that, but it also lets you get rid of your useless Kiba Wildfang after it's been deployed. It's not really going to do anything but sit there. And the Shino that we have is a one-time put-in-play effect also, so you can get rid of it and, start actually using those cards for benefit. 5/3 for its stats on turn 3 is very good. Obviously still does not have Anbu, but it does have tuning, so it can actually use the... what jutsu was that? Oh, the Shikamaru's Judgement. So yeah, very helpful turn 3 reinforcement. Next, I run 3 Danzo. Very useful with your Kakashis and Itachis. It is not Anbu, unfortunately. It's just the foundation. But its effect is sacrifice 1 Sharingan Eye Ninja, which means Sasuke, Kakashi, or Itachi. And then valid, when this ninja is put in play, place X growth coins on this ninja, where X equals the sacrificed ninja's entrance cost, and this ninja gets the sacrificed ninja's characteristics. So unfortunately, with Itachi, it is not name Itachi, like it doesn't have the characteristic name Itachi. So Danzo will not get his name because it has been errated to be written names only, or written characteristics only. But in the case of Kakashi, he will get name Kakashi, which allows him to use Kamui, which is very good. And obviously he'll get Sharingan Eye, which lets him use Amaterasu. The main draw of this card is that you can get rid of like an Itachi or Sasuke or Kakashi that's on your field that is kind of clogging your space. If it's been injured and it has a non-valid effect, you can just get rid of it and then put in another different version, except Kakashi, because this one will be named Kakashi. Or like if it's been comp strengths, they're dehydrated, or has like a poison coin or something, this is the way to get rid of that most efficiently. Not only that, it also buffs itself if it's getting rid of Kakashi or Itachi. It'll be a 4 or 5 growth coin, which will make it like an 8 or 9 with 8 or 7 support, which is kind of insane. So kind of just a support reinforcement. You're not going to be using it to win the game, but if you really need to get rid of your Sharingan Eye, or you just need a crazy beefy guy on the field, this is the way to go. Next, you should run 3, but I only own 2 Hidan Curse modes. It is usable with Lightning, which is interesting, so you can use like KNS as the hand cost or something. But 1 hand cost, and this is the card I was talking about. You sacrifice Hidan, and because the Hidan we have is not removed from play when he's removed from play, he's moved to the discard. He just goes straight back into the discard afterwards. And then this effect is valid. This ninja cannot be removed from play due to damage. And the second valid effect, when this ninja receives any damage, both players win 1 battle reward. With its third effect being, during your mission phase, you can pay 2 chakra to give 1 damage to this ninja. Essentially letting you pay 2 chakra for both of you and your opponent to win 1 battle reward. So this is very good. As I was talking about before, your Itachi can win a battle reward at the start of the turn, and then your Hidan here can pay 2 to win another one. For 2, and then your Hanzo can discard the 7 from the discard and win a third one without having to do anything. So not only is that just a very good benefit, if your opponent and you are tied and you win a 10th battle reward, you do get priority on your victory, so you get to win even if your opponent has victory also, which I guess counts even if like your opponent gets 10 on your turn, but then you only have 9, so you go up to 10 and he goes up to 11. I guess you still get priority, so you still win the game if you're tied, or if you're tied for victory, being that both of you have 10. But this is just a very good card because this comes into play. You win some battle rewards with it. It's removed somehow. Hidan just comes right back because it's in your discard pile. You put in play another one, etc. Basically, it's a free body, free battle rewards. It'll never die, and it'll just stick around forever. And lastly, I run 3. Well, I should, but I only own 1 because this card's like $200. Sasuke and Kakashi. Its effect is valid. While this ninja's in play, distribute 3 -1/-1 coins on up to 3 target ninjas. And then valid, your opponent's ninjas with -1/-1 coins on them cannot be the users of Jutsu cards. So if you have brought back a Kakashi and you still have a Sasuke from turn 0 on the field, you can bring this into play on turn 5 and basically just turn off Jutsus from anybody that you know is going to be using them. If you've got like a Naruto or a Sasuke on your opponent's side of the field, just turn off their jutsus. They're going to be the jutsu guys, and basically that's it. There's not much they can do at that point. The -1/-1 is also helpful just in combat because you're going to be pumping your numbers with your ninjas. So just a very good card all around, and very useful since your Kakashi really isn't doing anything after it's already been put in play, and your Sasuke has been stalling since turn 0 and pretty much doesn't do anything at that point anyway. And that's pretty much everything. I don't really have any other suggestions for alternate versions. I mean, Gabuman, who I based a lot of this on just in the strategies section of ninjas and things, not so much in the missions or definitely not that just like that hero. That's my own creation. But he has his own version where you're basically doing what I'm doing, but with Kiba and Shino to just kind of pump up your discard, wait until turn 4 and deploy. But this is the main strategy I'm going with because I feel like it's very easy to just send everything all at once and then, set up your own play that way. So if you have any suggestions or have any ideas that you want to have looked at, leave a comment down below. If you like the idea, leave a like so you can see more videos like this. I have mostly meta-analysis and concept videos that I have in mind, but I actually did just make like 3 or 4 more decks, so I'm going to be sprinkling in some more deck profiles as they come. So yeah, like I said, leave a like, leave a bell ringing. I don't even know if you still do that to get notifications about these videos when they come out, and I will see you in those videos. Bye.